What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I am coming at you with a video about Dragonmaids. And last weekend we just had another tournament where I piloted Dragonmaids to another first place finish. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about the deck, maybe like some theory on card choices and some changes I've been thinking about making, what I think is really good in the deck, what I don't think is good in the deck, and just why we are sort of playing what we're playing. This is not really going to be a deck profile, although I am going to show you guys the entire list so I can sort of more easily explain card choices and things. But this is really just going to be a Dragonmaid theory video, talking about the deck, the archetype as a whole, how it fares versus everything, and just all things Dragonmaid you can imagine. Hopefully this will be really helpful for some aspiring Dragonmaid players, and that is my goal, just to help people with Dragonmaid for those who are looking for help with the deck. And yeah, I think the deck is amazing. It performed really well last weekend, so we are going to very quickly go into the deck profile, showing you all the cards. But first, I do want to let you guys know, Discord link down below. If you are looking for a Yu-Gi-Oh community where you can hang out with friends and play Master Duels and just hang out with the Yu-Gi-Oh community, link down below if that does sound interesting to you. And of course, as always, if you are a fan of the Dragonmaid archetype, leave a like and subscribe. You do not want to miss out on future Dragonmaid content. So with that out of the way, let's get into this very quick Dragonmaid deck profile. Alright, so now that I've sort of showed off the list, we can get to the actual good part of the video where all the actual subject matter is, and that's talking about Dragonmaid theory as far as like building your deck and how to sort of play it. I do have a combo video on the channel you can check out, link down below, and a previous first place deck profile. But for this one I want to talk about very specific things. Like as far as the Dragonmaid engine, of course we have the very standard 3-chamber and 3-parlor you're always maximizing. You're always playing the 1 nurse. But kitchen is like the only thing in the Dragonmaid lineup where you can sort of diverge how many you want to play. I'm on 2 because like you really want to see any Dragonmaid monster because there are so many cards in the deck that rely on seeing a Dragonmaid. Like just to name a few, specifically this one is a Dragonmaid, right? Like you need a Dragonmaid for hospitality to do anything. We also have, of course, Changeover, and of course, Tidying works with any dragon, but if you don't have a Dragonmaid, you're probably not using this card either. That makes it to where you can draw a lot of cards that are completely dead if you don't see any Dragonmaid name. And that is why I am personally on 2 Kitchen, even though she's not like the most amazing monster. Obviously for Small World, she's pretty good as well because she can actually be a bridge for certain Ghost Girl hand traps. So running 1 and having to use her for Small World would be kind of rough because you do want her in the grind game. So I'm just running 2 for that reason as well. That's personally why I'm on 2. You'd want to play 1 if you just needed more flex or needed more room to fit cards you really wanted. I do think 2 Kitchen is sort of the way. And the rest of the Dragonmaid lineup is pretty standard. We don't play, of course, the Laundry package or with any of Laundry's cards. I think Laundry's Dragon is very good, but not as good as the others. And of course, when you're not running Laundry's just the worst of the Dragonmaids, unfortunately, because I think she's a pretty cool looking card, but yeah, she just can't make it in the current variation of the deck. A big thing to talk about is the hand traps, and I always feel this way. And the biggest thing about the hand traps are sort of how they play with Small World. So something to note about this list compared to my last list is Small World has been sort of buffed. And Small World has been buffed because in my last list, Nibiru had no way to bridge into anything good. Nibiru could go into Effect Veiler, and Effect Veiler could grab Noctovision, but that's not a play. So there was no way for Nibiru to become a starter in the previous iteration. But now, Nibiru can bridge into the Ghost Ogre who can bridge into Chamber because they both have 1800 defense. So this is a very good bridge to sort of know is in your deck because, oh man, the lighting is always so fun. But yeah, this is a very important bridge because now it means with Small World, because we're on Ghost Ogre, Nibiru acts as a starter, which is important to note. And a lot of the reason we're running the hand traps we are is for Small World. And what this means is you can run like other hand traps as long as they don't mess up your Small World bridge, right? Like you don't want to take out Ghost Ogre per se, because then what is your Nibiru actually going to search? Like another card that's really cool that I'm not running is Phantasme. And Phantasme I think is actually getting better this format slowly. Like I think it's a lot of people are going for Halki Fibrax, and a lot of decks are actually making Link monsters, so Phantasme could come in eventually. But for now, I'm still on Noctovision because I think he's just the way better card right now. Phantasme has some really cool things it can do because of like just the fact that it's a level 5 or higher dragon. Besides Small World being what it is for the hand traps to be really good, Dragonmaids have always just had a problem going second. So all the hand traps have a purpose, but most importantly, it's about the real big, like, bombs, and that's the 3 Nibiru. This is something I was playing 2 of in my last list, and I said I wanted 3 of it, and yeah, we just had to go up. Of course, it's not good in every matchup this format. There's a lot of trap decks floating around, but Dragonmaid tend to do better into trap decks in general, so it's the really heavy combo boards that we want to be trying to stop, and Nibiru is very powerful for that. And that's sort of another reason for Ghost Ogre, besides just the fact that it's, like, really good. As a bridge, it's really good this meta because of the Brave engine. So we were playing Valor over this, and Valor was a really good card last format. I think it's still really good this format, but it is less good in my opinion compared to Ghost Ogre right now because of the Brave engine. Like I would much rather be able to just like Nibiru chain Ghost Ogre, and because it's a bridge and it still works with the like Nibiru break up every board in the game combo. For those unaware of what I'm talking about, it's like very common knowledge that Nibiru plus Imperm or Valor or Gamma can almost break every single board your opponent's setting up. And Ghost Ogre, this format can do it as well because Nibiru plus Ghost Ogre sort of stops the boards that are Brave reliant and they have the negate for Nibiru through the Brave engine or through Appaloosa because Ghost Ogre outs both of those and Nibiru will still resolve. While this is still just like such a great bridge in the deck, which is why we're sort of running these. Another big thing in our hand trap lineup is the Ghost Bell. And of course, Ghost Bell's always been good in this deck, in my opinion, not only as a bridge, I mean, we are on 2 of this, so I might as well show both of them. Not only as a bridge, but the fact that Called by the Grave is Herratic Seal's absolute worst nightmare. Like, Called by the Grave just destroys Herratic Seals. Yeah, it's really tough, and Ghost Bell's sort of an out to that. And in my previous list, I was playing Cross-Out Designator, and I've taken those out for strikes, so talking about Designator, I guess, we've taken the Designators out, and we've put in Solemn Strikes, because this sort of does the same thing as I was saying in my last list. I was saying how Designator is really good for making sure our spheres go off. Strike is the same thing, right? Like, Strike at bare minimum will stop an Ash on your spheres, but it doesn't stop Called by the Grave like Cross-Out Designator would. And that's why Bell also got added at a higher ratio. And yeah, I'm still, like, working with that change. It's really tough to decide which one I like better. The problem with Designator versus Strike is Designator is better at stopping, you know, multiple things that hurt it, like Called by the Grave and Ash Blossom, and it helps your plays going first, like we save ourselves from a hand trap, which is one reason I'm still thinking about going back to Designator. But the issue here is Strike is just 100% the better card in more situations. Like, Strike is obviously always good, unless you're playing against a very heavy trap deck. But Designator sometimes is completely dead, and that's sort of where I'm struggling with how I want to play this out. Right now, Strike obviously worked very well last tournament. I mean, I got first. But yeah, Strike was... It's really tough to decide between this and Designator, and it's something I'm sort of struggling with in the list. A big thing I want to talk about is sort of some things I'm not playing. Before I go into more cards that I'm running and why I'm running in the ratios, there's been a couple of cards I've really been thinking about playing, namely Destrudo. I think Destrudo is so good in this deck, and I don't own one, so I didn't play it for the last tournament I was in. However, I think Destrudo is so good. Like, it sounds so good. Paying half your life points, that part kind of stinks. Because, you are a grind deck that sort of main objective is to snowball into advantage, so if your opponent pushes your life points down low pretty quickly, you could lose a game because of Destrudo, but Destrudo is just an amazing extender that is also like a decent bridge with Small World, and is searchable off Heraldic Seals, and, at worst, Destrudo will help you make spheres, which is just so good. And yeah, I think Destrudo could be good. It also, you can play like level 7 synchros in your extra deck like Black Rose Dragon. I have some more explaining for the extra deck in a bit, but yeah, Destrudo provides some more versatility, and I think it could be really good. And I haven't tested it, and I feel like I'm running in circles talking about the card because, again, with very limited testing, it's sort of, I think it's good on paper, right? But yeah, I think Destrudo could be having a spot in this deck in the very near future. Definitely something I'm going to test. Another thing that you may notice is I am on 2 changeover in this list. Previously, I was on 1, and I would rather play 1 of this card in just about all of my lists because I'm trying to fit as many really good cards that don't rely on seeing a play all the time. Like, I want to fit Nibiru because Nibiru is just always really powerful, whether my hand is really good or not, and changeover requires me to see playable if I draw it. But the reason I'm on 2 changeover is at my locals, DD Crow is especially popular because a lot of people at my locals, including myself, have sort of realized DD Crow is one of the most powerful cards in this metagame, and have sort of taken advantage of that. And it's maybe like by the time this goes up, it'll be shifting in and out of the meta. I haven't seen too many other people on it, like watching duels online. But I personally think that card's so good, and so does the rest of my locals. So personally, I am on 2 changeover for that, because you don't want this getting DD Crow'd and you having no out to it. So yeah, if your locals isn't on Crow, you can play 1 of this just fine, but I am on 2 for that, and I would, again, rather be playing 1 of this. You can also choose to side the second one for game 2s and 3s if your opponent is on Crow. It's something really tough, and I don't know. I don't want to have to play 2 of this card, but this meta, it's sort of shaping up that way. But let's talk about sort of Dragonmaid spells and traps, because that is something big I wanted to point out in this video, is because Downtime has been removed from my list. And Downtime was a card I really enjoyed, and actually, I say it's been removed from my list, but I was actually siding it for more back row heavy decks this last weekend. And I think it worked out well. I sided Dragonmaid actually in against the mirror. And it worked like very good. Because you're obviously against the mirror. It's who grinds better. And it sort of, it didn't really come down to Downtime. Downtime helped me in game 2. But yeah, Downtime was sided for more back row heavy decks. But we took Downtime out. And why is that? It wasn't even actually to fit the changeover. I think that swap was something else. Although I don't remember what it is at the time. But yeah, we took Downtime out because we just had to fit other cards, like fitting in Droplets, the 3rd Nibiru, making sure we're running more hand traps because, again, this deck's weakness is go second, and running hand traps helps save you from like board breakers as opposed to playing a more trap heavy variant. So lots of reasons to play more hand traps, and of course this format, with how it's shaping up, with Phantom Knight being as strong as it is, the Brave Engine, just so many good decks that are just amassing a crazy board going first, I wanted to have Nibiru and ways to stop plays. So while Downtime is very good, it doesn't get me to that goal. Now, there are some things I want to mention about Dragonmaid spells and traps, because in finals, I actually played a Dragonmaid mirror match to go over my rounds, which I should have put near the beginning. For round 1 and 2, I don't even remember what I played. I know I was 2-0 going into round 3, but it's been a minute, and I don't remember exactly what my matchups were. If I sat here and thought about it, I might, because some interactions might come up. Oh no, hold up. Round 1, I played against my friend Ashton, and he was on Dinosaur, and that game was pretty wild. I remember it went the entire distance to game 3. Round 2, I don't quite remember. Round 3, the 3 undefeateds going into round 3 were all Dragon players. We had a Dragon Link, a Dragonmaid, and myself on Dragonmaid. And I ended up playing the Dragon Link in round 3, and it went the distance as well. He made one misplay in game 3 and lost in time because I swung with a chamber over a 0-attack Appaloosa for essentially game. So that was interesting. And then in the finals, we played against Dragonmaid. And this has been a long topic for someone, like, I'm sure I just wanted to explain the spell and trap lineup, but I wanted to get the matchups out there as well. But yes, spells and traps for Dragonmaid, there's actually a lot of versatility here. Like, if you're not going to play the second changeover or you have more space, there are a couple of really good options. Of course, manning the downtime is there. I think downtime is really good. But there is also, I think it's called Dragonmaid Welcome. I'll put the picture on the screen because I might be getting the name mixed up with either Send Off or Welcome. I don't remember which one it is exactly. But my opponent was playing this spell, and essentially when it hits the graveyard, your Dragonmaid monsters cannot be targeted by effects. So what this means is when you're doing like your Spheres or Sheo, follow up during your opponent's turn, because that's what Dragonmaids do, they play on your turn and your opponent's, Parlor can dump that spell, and it's a very strong form of protection, especially, you know, it might have just been because we were in the mirror match, but it seems like pretty good overall, because if you slip up on Parlor effect, and you're like not prepared for it, suddenly they can't be, you know, for a PK player, they can't be fog bladed, Bardiche popped, you know, like targeting is pretty relevant right now, like Chuche as well is something in the meta you can watch out for with targets. So that card I think is getting a lot better, and while I don't think there's room for it, because again, I want to maximize just good Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like the Dragonmaid cards are very good, and it makes your engine a little bit stronger playing that, but I don't see how any of them, you know, surpass playing Nibiru, which is not only a starter with Small World, but just like one of the most powerful cards in the game, like more impactful than any other card you could play. So while that play is really cute and I think it has some application, it's really hard justifying fitting it in the list. And I believe this list was actually at 41 cards. But yeah, I think that card's really good and it's getting better. I still don't think the other one, like Send Off or Welcome is the card I'm talking about, but the card I'm not talking about, I still don't think that one's that great. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say about the Dragonmaid spells and traps. That went on too long. Of course, we're playing the going second bombs I talked about earlier with Nibiru, but you know, of course the droplets there for that as well. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about with the main deck before going on to the extra deck? I mentioned Destrudo, mentioned the starters. No, I think that's it for the main deck talk. That's kind of what I wanted to say. Talked about the designator cards I might want to play. But yeah, going on to the extra deck, I did something very different this time around. Before, I was playing a bunch of Super Poly targets, and yeah, I mean, it came up. It would have come up this week actually a lot if I was playing it, but I wanted to go for a more real extra deck this time. So of course, we're on the very standard 3 seals, nothing to talk about there. The Striker is in, and of course we added Pisty as well, just in case. Like, these are the same card in this deck. You're not actually doing anything with their effects. They're a way to bridge into your 1-card combos, as I've mentioned in the past. Again, you can check the combo video for this deck down below if you want to see how this deck plays as far as the combo is concerned. We are actually on the Dark and the Hida. These were just able to help us climb into our Link 4s. Of course, this one can be made with Kitchen, and Ash Blossom's popular. This one can, of course, be made with Chamber. I didn't think Win was worth playing, and I don't even own a Win, so even if I did, she wasn't coming in. But these, we added some Link 4s into the deck that you can actually make, so I wanted those in. Of course, the Nightmares, if you're swarming the field, because Dragonmaids do that if their snowball gets rolling, you could climb these, of course, into your access code. You can go like Charmers into this, or just through your Nightmare package, and I thought that was really good. It never came up, neither did the Boral Sword. These were just honorary prosperity banishes, so yeah, that's pretty nice. And then a big thing about the extra deck, in my opinion, is the fusion lineup. This is what I've been rocking essentially since I started playing Dragonmaids, and honestly, the Dragonmaid mirror kind of opened my eyes. I'd played it before, and I think I've won every single Dragonmaid mirror I've played at locals. However, you know, the other Dragonmaid player definitely knows his stuff, and he's opened my eyes to this, we'll say, and I think I want to play 3 house. 2 and 2 is something I've seen very commonly. I don't even know if that's a word, commonly. That's definitely a word, but 2 Sheo, 2 house, it makes sense in my eyes, but when you actually play a lot of Dragonmaid, and the more you realize, it might be worth adding a 3rd house Dragonmaid, which, if you don't know the deck very well, that might sound weird because, of course, Sheo's the main play, but Sheo's mechanic is that he goes back to extra deck, and house does not have that mechanic. So once you run out of houses, Sheo is just like a monster reborn during the standby phase and a huge body. House is, how many house you have in your extra deck determines how many Sheos you can actually run through. As well as House being a really good card. Sometimes you actually fusion summon to just break boards. Like if you're able to make this and then you have like 2 Dragon Maids on field and you get 2 bounces, that's 2 pops. And House is actually pretty good on her own, like surprisingly. The whole time I've been playing it, I think I've been sleeping on House a little too much, but she's honestly very good and she makes Sheo even better. So I'm thinking a 3rd House could be relevant, and honestly I think you could take out one of the Link 4s potentially. I think one of the Charmers could go out, maybe the Pisty, although like I kind of want 2 of these in my extra deck. Because we're on Prosperity, multiples are kind of weird sometimes, but yeah, 3 House is something I've just been thinking about more and more, and it makes sense to me. As far as other things you can do with the extra deck, I do think Super Polys are sort of relevant, but maybe not this format. This format doesn't have Dragoon in it especially. There's also something I wanted to talk about involving Verte, Anaconda, and of course the DPE package. So you could take a Link 2 out like Nightmare Unicorn or something, and you can run DPE. I've seen other builds do it. There was a build recently that did well that was running that, although I think there was some very strange things in that build concerning the extra deck overall. Like 1 Hieratic Seals. No offense to that player, and it definitely worked for him, so I don't mean any, slack when I say this, but personally I think 3 Seals is just the way to go. Maybe 2 if you need to fit something, but yeah, our builds were a little different, so that might be it. Something in Dragonmaid that I've been sort of thinking about more and more is which to prioritize, right? Seal or Sheo. It's like, let me remove this. I only brought this on the mat to talk about Verte Anaconda for DPE, so that was a placeholder. But these, which one you go for, in my opinion, is so tough. Like, if you're only going to make one of these, in the past, for me, it's always been Seals, because I've loved Seals Tidying, and Seals Tidying is so good, and Seals gets you access to different Dragonmaid monsters. So, like, Sheo, if you 1-card combo into Sheo, well, it's never really a 1-card combo, but if you have access to Sheo and that's it, and you had to use like Parlor, right? Well, then you only get Parlor, and you're never adding like a Tidying to your hand that way. And if you only have Chamber, you're never really getting more Dragonmaid monster access. So the ability for Seals to grab any Dragonmaid monster you need at the time, or Destrudo, is what I've always sort of leaned on Seals for. And it's just been the better follow-up in my opinion, but obviously Sheo is just so much more powerful than Hieratic Seals and loses to less things, right? So this loses to Called by the Grave very hard and Ash Blossom, while Sheo loses to Droplets pretty tough, as well as just like regular spot negates, like Infinite Impermanent. So deciding which one you go for, I think, is based on your hand. Personally, it's dependent on my hand. Like if I opened Tidying, I think going Sheo might be better, because at the very least, if this gets Ash, your Tidying, it would be dead, but not for Sheo, right? So I think it's hand dependent. I think the other list was definitely prioritizing Sheo as a starter, which maybe I should do more, but Seals has always been like, not only easier, but getting Seals Tidying is a lot easier than getting Sheo Tidying, just because of the way it works out with the way searches and cards work in this deck. So that's something else I wanted to mention. And I think that might wrap up sort of this theory video. I do want to see what you guys say in the comments down below. Definitely leave your thoughts on Dragonmaid in general, what you're playing, how you've been doing with the deck, what is like your struggles with it, what do you want to play. This video is sort of made for Dragonmaid players to sort of, not really rally together or anything. It's not like a rally to arms to figure out the best Dragonmaid strategy, but sort of a place where we can all discuss thoughts with the deck and what may be best going forward, just Dragonmaid talk in general. So I know this video has been really long, it's just been a lot of talking, but hopefully you guys stuck around. If you did, thanks for the support, because it means a lot here on the channel, because you guys are what makes this channel work. So yeah, this has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe. Bye, YouTube.